An abandoned colossal starship begs a human mechanic. He turns it into a galactic superweapon, the stars stretched endlessly across the blackness of space. Among them drifted a massive shape, so enormous that even from a distance it looked like a small moon. Its hull was scarred, burned, and battered from battles long forgotten. No lights flickered along its surface. No ship had dared approach it for decades. It had been abandoned, or so everyone believed. Kieran had no map, no orders, and certainly no reason to be there. He was a mechanic, one of the best among the scattered human colonies, but that meant little in the vast galaxy. Most people thought of him as stubborn, strange, and reckless, but he knew machines. He knew how they breathed, how they thought, and how to speak to them in ways no one else could. He floated near the colossal ship, his small transport humming softly as it adjusted course. He had followed a strange signal, something ancient and powerful, pulsing like a heartbeat across the void. Most mechanics would have ignored it, thinking it a false beacon or a ghost signal. But Kieran had never ignored a call before. Something in him recognized intelligence in that signal. Something alive. The ship's surface stretched above him, a fortress of metal with jagged edges and battle scars. He tethered himself to a docking port, airlocks opening with groans that echoed into the emptiness. Stepping inside, Kieran felt an unexpected warmth. Not heat, but presence. The corridors were vast and dark, and yet he didn't feel small. It was as if the ship itself had been waiting for him. He switched on his portable light. Dust floated in beams of artificial glow. Ancient glyphs ran along the walls, glowing faintly as he passed. They pulsed slowly, almost like a heartbeat. Kieran paused, touching one of the symbols. A shiver ran through him. It wasn't just decoration. It was a language of energy, of thought, of life. The ship was speaking to him. Kieran had always believed machines could be alive, in their own way. Not conscious like humans, but aware. And now, he was certain. This ship, it was alive. It waited for someone who could understand it. Someone clever enough to speak its language. It had chosen him. He continued deeper, stepping over wires that seemed too big for any human to move. He found the core chamber, a colossal room filled with machinery unlike anything he had ever seen. Energy flowed in streams of blue and gold, coiling like serpents. Panels blinked in sequences that made no sense at first, until he realized they responded to his presence. They weren't random. They were waiting for him to act. Kieran ran his hands over the control panels, feeling the hum of power through his fingertips. The ship pulsed beneath him, almost like it was alive. And then, without warning, a holographic map appeared in the center of the room. It stretched out across the chamber, showing dozens of alien fleets moving in formation toward human colonies. Kieran's eyes widened. "They're coming," he whispered, more to himself than anyone else. His pulse quickened. These were fleets from beyond known space. Alien warships that had been raiding the edges of human territory for years. Entire colonies had fallen before humans even had a chance to fight back. And now, here they were, approaching again. A whisper echoed through the core chamber, not in sound but in vibration and light. The ship was speaking. "I can fight, but only with you." Kieran froze. Machines didn't talk like this, not in words. But this was different. This was not programming. This was trust. This was need. He swallowed hard, excitement and fear twisting inside him. He had repaired old freighters before, even some military vessels, but never anything like this. This was a warship. A monster, a relic of an age when humans were nothing but colonies under alien shadows. And now it was awake, waiting for him to bring it fully to life. Kieran stepped closer to the holographic map. The ship's core pulsed faster, as if reacting to his curiosity. Panels shifted, revealing blueprints, schematics, and energy readings. He ran his fingers over the controls, instinctively understanding some of the systems. Shields that bent light around the hull, engines that twisted gravity to achieve impossible speeds, and weapons that could level planets. All of it dormant, waiting. "This is incredible," Kieran muttered. He could feel the ship's pulse in his chest. It was almost like it could feel his excitement. It wanted him to understand, to trust it. And Kieran, he trusted machines more than humans. Machines were honest. Machines never lied. They either worked or they didn't. And this one, it had worked for a very long time. He moved carefully, inspecting energy conduits and control interfaces. Rust and age had weakened some systems, but many were intact. He could repair it. He could awaken it. And maybe, just maybe, he could save human colonies from the alien fleets now approaching. Hours passed. Kieran worked tirelessly, using tools he had built himself, salvaged parts and sheer intuition. Every system he repaired responded instantly, adapting to his methods. The ship was learning from him. It was alive. And it trusted him to make decisions. Finally, he approached the main energy core. He had heard legends of these cores, how they could annihilate entire fleets if handled correctly. But no human had ever seen one awake. The core thrummed like a heartbeat, larger and brighter than anything he had imagined. Light spiraled along the walls, reflecting off his helmet visor. And then the ship's voice reached him again. "Do you wish to awaken me fully?" Kieran hesitated. The power here was unimaginable. If he made a mistake, he could die instantly, or worse, destroy the colonies he hoped to save. But he also knew hesitation would mean nothing. The aliens were coming. Time was running out. He touched the core. Sparks flew and panels lit up in sequences he didn't fully understand but instinctively knew to follow. The ship shuddered and then stabilized, as if it had been sleeping for centuries and had finally woken to recognize its new partner. The holographic map shifted, highlighting the alien fleets in bright red, showing movement patterns, weapon ranges, and weaknesses. "They underestimate humans," Kieran said, more to himself than the ship. "They don't know we can think differently. They don't know we can be unpredictable." The ship responded with a pulse of light, almost like agreement. Kieran realized something. The ship didn't just want him to repair it. It wanted him to think, to lead, to make choices no machine alone could make. And for the first time in his life, Kieran felt important. Needed, not just by humans, but by a machine older than any human memory. Suddenly, alarms blared across the core chamber. Sensors detected alien scouts approaching the derelict ship. They were scanning for life signs, for energy signatures. Kieran's heart pounded. They hadn't expected anyone here, and he could see their confusion in the holographic readouts. They were about to find a human where none should be. Kieran grinned. Let's give them a surprise. He didn't fully know how yet, but he would. The ship's systems responded instantly, extending defensive shields and powering auxiliary thrusters. It was ready to fight, but it needed a mind to guide it. That mind was his. He moved through the corridors, the ship adapting to his presence. Hallways shifted. Doors opened before he reached them, and the hull of engines filled the empty space. It felt like the ship was alive, breathing, anticipating his next move. Kieran laughed quietly. Humans had survived countless threats, outsmarted enemies far stronger than themselves. And now, here he was, about to do it again. As he reached a control chamber overlooking the ship's main weapons array, Kieran paused. The alien fleets were visible through the reinforced observation windows, bright against the darkness of space. They were confident, unaware of the force awakening before them, and they didn't know a human would guide it. "We have work to do," Kieran whispered. The ship responded with a deep vibration through the floor, like a growl. It understood. Together, human and machine would fight. Together, they would survive. And in the darkness of the abandoned starship, a legend was beginning. A legend of human ingenuity, courage, and determination. One mechanic, standing alone against an entire fleet, with a colossal starship awakening at his command. The stars outside sparkled as if watching, waiting, and the alien fleets had no idea what was coming. Kieran smiled. Humanity had a chance, and he was going to make sure they took it. Kieran's heartbeat echoed in the vast control chamber, almost matching the pulse of the Colossal Starship. Every system hummed around him, alive and ready. Outside, through the observation windows, alien scouts moved in precise formations. They were confident, organized, and deadly. But they had no idea a single human was about to outthink them. Kieran adjusted his tool belt and stepped closer to the main console. He had spent hours studying the ship's systems, understanding its energy flows, its shields, its engines. He still didn't understand everything. It was far older and smarter than he was. But he had something machines didn't: creativity, imagination, instinct. He ran his hand along the holographic panels, examining energy outputs, weapon ranges, and shield capacities. The ship responded to his touch, expanding data streams, offering suggestions and flashes of light. It was learning from him as he learned from it. Kieran smiled. Good. We're going to do this together. He tapped a control and sent a small probe outside. The probe zipped through space like a streak of blue fire, darting between alien scouts. As it passed, it sent back data streams, weak points in hulls, energy patterns, weapon cooldowns. Kieran analyzed quickly. They rely too much on formation, he muttered. We can break them. The starship vibrated gently, almost approvingly. It had been built for war, yes, but it had never encountered tactics like this. Tactics from a human. Kieran grinned. He loved solving impossible problems. And this was the ultimate puzzle. Adapting the starship, the first step was stabilizing the ship's shields. Ancient as they were, they could bend light and energy to create near invisibility, but only if powered correctly. Kieran rerouted auxiliary energy through the shield cores, creating a dynamic pattern that shifted unpredictably. Try scanning us now, he whispered. The alien scouts blinked as their sensors failed to lock onto the starship. Red warning lights flashed across their cockpits. One pilot swore, adjusting controls. Kieran's eyes shone with excitement. Humans had survived against impossible odds before. And this was just like that, outsmarting a stronger, more advanced enemy. Next, he turned to the engines. These were unlike any human engines, manipulating gravity itself to propel the ship. But some circuits were damaged. Kieran improvised, using parts from his transport and wiring them into the ancient core. Sparks flew. Energy hummed. The ship's engine shuddered, and then roared to life with power Kieran could feel through the floor. You like that, huh? He said, laughing quietly. The ship vibrated, pulsing faster. It liked him, he realized. They were partners now, bound by necessity and understanding. Finally, he moved to the weapons array. The main cannons were massive, their barrels long enough to crush moons if fired recklessly. But they had been silent for centuries. Kieran had to awaken them carefully. He studied the firing controls, analyzing energy requirements, weapon cooldowns, and targeting systems. Okay, he said. Let's see what you've got. He powered up one cannon. Energy surged through the chamber, bright as sunlight, humming like a living thing. A test beam fired into a nearby asteroid field, slicing through massive rocks like paper. Kieran laughed in disbelief. Incredible. Just incredible. The ship pulsed almost with pride. It had never been guided by a human before. And the results were astounding. First encounter. Suddenly, the alien scouts detected something unusual. Their sensors finally pinged the starship, realizing a human presence controlled it. Confusion spread across the fleet. The human alone should be powerless. Yet here he was, inside a relic warship that had not been seen in centuries. The scouts fired small energy blasts. Kieran ducked, pressing panels and activating shields in response. Energy flared, bouncing off the hull, and one scout ship was shredded in seconds. The others pulled back, stunned. They didn't expect this, Kieran said, a grin spreading across his face. Humans were underestimated everywhere in the galaxy. That had always been humanity's advantage. Humans adapted, improvised, survived. And right now, that advantage was alive in him. He adjusted the ship's orientation using the gravity engines. The starship responded with surprising agility, twisting and turning to dodge enemy fire. Kieran realized that the ship's old design allowed for maneuvers no modern vessel could match if guided creatively. "Let's shake things up," he whispered. He fired a sequence of energy pulses at the alien scouts, carefully predicting their movements. One by one, their ships exploded in controlled bursts. Kieran felt a rush of exhilaration. He wasn't just repairing an old ship, he was commanding it, and together they were unstoppable. Learning the ship as the dust of the first engagement settled, Kieran began exploring deeper systems. He found areas he hadn't yet repaired: auxiliary weapons, stealth generators, and hidden defensive modules. Each discovery amazed him. "This ship, it's more than a weapon," he said aloud. "It's a fortress. It's a thinking machine." He activated a hidden communications array. Though dormant for centuries, it hummed to life under his touch. The ship guided him, showing energy flows, tactical positions, and even weaknesses in alien formations. Kieran's mind raced. With this knowledge, they could not only defend human colonies, they could strike back.
He smiled at the thought.
Humans had always been creative under pressure, turning scraps into weapons, strategies, and survival. And here he was, taking a relic from the past and using it to give humanity a fighting chance. He worked tirelessly, rerouting power, testing shields, calibrating weapons. Every adjustment made the ship more responsive, more alive, more formidable. The starship seemed to anticipate his thoughts, almost like it was learning to think like a human. Kieran realized the partnership was deepening. They were not just human and machine, they were a single mind in battle. A new plan. By the time Kieran had completed most repairs, he had a plan. The alien fleet was larger than he had expected, but he had observed patterns. They relied heavily on formation and predictability. The starship, powered by human creativity, could exploit both. He plotted a course through a nearby asteroid belt. Using gravity engines, he could manipulate asteroids to act as shields and decoys. He adjusted weapon targeting to hit multiple enemy ships at once. And with the stealth generators he had repaired, the starship could appear and disappear unpredictably. "This is going to be fun," Kieran muttered. He activated the main weapons array fully, feeling the power thrumming beneath him. The starship responded instantly, as if acknowledging that its partner was ready. Together, they would not just defend, they would dominate. But even as he prepared, Kieran felt a twinge of doubt. The alien fleets were experienced, powerful and deadly. One mistake could cost him his life and human colonies. But doubt was temporary. Humans thrived under pressure. Humans survived when others expected them to fail. And humans adapted. "Let's show them," he said, determination blazing in his eyes. The first strike. The alien fleet moved closer. Kieran watched the holographic map, identifying weak points. He activated a small fleet of drones hidden within the starship, sending them to intercept incoming enemy fire. The drones moved like shadows, disrupting sensors and communications. With the shields up, the engines ready, and weapons primed, Kieran guided the Colossal Starship through the asteroid belt. The fleet tried to follow, but the unpredictable path confused them. Asteroids were hurled toward enemy formations, shielding Kieran's approach and breaking their ranks. Then he fired. Energy beams cut through the void, targeting multiple ships at once. The alien scouts were destroyed before they could react. Explosions lit the darkness, flaring bright against the cold stars. Kieran laughed aloud, feeling alive in a way he had never felt before. The remaining alien ships tried to regroup, but Kieran was faster. He had learned their patterns, anticipated their moves, and adapted in real time. The starship was no longer just a relic. It was a living weapon under the guidance of human ingenuity. A moment of realization as the smoke and debris cleared. Kieran floated in the control chamber, hands gripping the console. The starship hummed around him, responding to every thought, every decision. He realized something profound. This ship, as powerful as it was nothing without a mind to guide it. And that mind was human. "We did it," he said softly, almost in awe. "Just us. Humans can still surprise them." He looked out at the stars. The alien fleet was retreating, battered and confused. They had underestimated a human. They had underestimated creativity, intuition, and courage. And Kieran knew this was only the beginning. The starship pulsed, almost like laughter, echoing through the vast corridors. It had survived centuries of abandonment, and now it was alive again, guided by a human mind. Together they could change the galaxy. And somewhere deep inside, Kieran knew that the real challenge was yet to come. The alien fleets would return, stronger, smarter, and more ruthless. But now, he was ready. He had a partner unlike any other, and together, they were unstoppable. The vastness of space stretched endlessly before Kieran. Yet for the first time in his life, he felt the weight of responsibility pressed down on him like gravity itself. The alien scouts had been destroyed, but the fleet wasn't finished. He knew it. Their retreat was only temporary. They would come back stronger, smarter, and more aggressive. And when they did, he would have to be ready. He floated through the control chamber, touching the consoles lightly, feeling the pulse of the starship. Every system was awake, responsive, alive. The ship had adapted to him, and he had adapted to it. It was more than a machine now. It was a partner, a weapon, and a protector. And he alone could guide it. He studied the holographic map again, plotting the alien fleet's next move. Their formations were no longer simple. They were coordinating across multiple sectors using faster ships and heavier firepower. Kieran rubbed his eyes, realizing this would be the ultimate test, not just for him, but for humanity. "They think they can crush us," he muttered. "They don't know. Humans never give up." Preparation for battle. Kieran moved quickly through the ship, checking engines, weapons, and shields. Every system had to be perfect. He rerouted energy through auxiliary cores, boosting the shields and weapons. He configured the main cannons to fire simultaneously or in staggered patterns, giving him flexibility. But the ship had more hidden systems than he had first realized. Gravity turrets, stealth generators, and energy field projectors were all dormant. He activated each in turn, feeling the ship respond like it had finally found purpose again. "This is incredible," he said softly. "No one could have imagined a ship like this. Except maybe humans." He laughed quietly, imagining alien strategists trying to predict his next move. They couldn't. No computer, no fleet could match human unpredictability. And that was his advantage. The fleet returns hours later. The alien fleet returned. This time, they came in full force. Hundreds of ships, sleek and deadly, moved toward the human colonies. Energy readings blazed in red on Kieran's holographic map. He could feel the tension in the ship. It knew. This battle would decide the fate of countless humans. Kieran took a deep breath. He had faced impossible odds before, but never like this. His mind raced, thinking faster than ever. He analyzed their formations, their weapon patterns, and their energy fields. Then he smiled. "Predictable," he muttered. Using the starship's gravity engines, Kieran altered his position, weaving through the void like a ghost. Asteroids and debris became shields. The alien fleet fired blindly, wasting energy and exposing weaknesses. Kieran was already planning the next strike. The ship responded instantly, shifting its hull to minimize exposure and maximize firepower. Every cannon, every energy beam, every turret was under his control. He felt a thrill like never before. Humanity had never seen such a display of cunning, intelligence, and courage. Human creativity shines. The alien fleet regrouped, firing with deadly accuracy. One blast nearly breached the starship's shields. Kieran acted without hesitation. He rerouted energy to the damaged shield generator, then triggered an auxiliary pulse that reflected part of the energy back at the attackers. A ship exploded instantly. "That's right," he said, grinning. "Never underestimate humans." He activated stealth systems, vanishing from the alien sensors. Then, using the gravity engines, he hurled several nearby asteroids at the enemy fleet. Ships collided, energy shields overloaded, and the alien formation began to crumble. The starship moved with fluid grace, twisting and turning through the chaos. Kieran realized something profound. The ship could anticipate human tactics, but humans could improvise. Together, they were unstoppable. But the aliens were learning. They adapted quickly, firing in unpredictable patterns and coordinating their attacks across multiple vectors. Kieran's mind raced. He couldn't rely on power alone. He needed strategy, cunning, and instinct. The hidden chamber, while monitoring the fleet, Kieran noticed a faint energy signature deep within the starship. It was something he hadn't discovered before. A hidden control chamber. The energy reading suggested it could amplify the ship's weapons to an unprecedented level. He approached cautiously, checking the access codes and bypassing ancient locks. The chamber opened with a hiss, revealing a room filled with energy conduits, targeting matrices, and controls far beyond his comprehension. A single console pulsed with immense power. This could change everything, he whispered. But the ship warned him. A vibration through the floor and walls carried the message clearly. Too much energy. You may not survive. Kieran hesitated. He knew activating this chamber could destroy the alien fleet, but it might also cost him his life. His pulse quickened. Humans survived by taking risks, by thinking, by daring where others hesitated. And this was the ultimate risk. He swallowed hard. Sometimes survival means taking the impossible chance, he muttered. A desperate gamble, Kieran began rerouting energy from the auxiliary cores to the hidden chamber. Sparks flew, lights blinked, and the starship shuddered under the strain. Outside, the alien fleet advanced. They would reach the human colony soon if he didn't act. He activated the chamber. Power surged through the starship like a tidal wave. Shields shimmered with intense light, engines thrummed with gravity-defying force, and weapons glowed with unimaginable energy. The ship pulsed, alive and dangerous. Kieran focused, guiding the energy with precise movements of his hands across the controls. He fired a beam at the alien flagship. The energy cut through space, slicing the vessel apart. Other ships scattered in panic, trying to avoid the onslaught. The starship responded to every thought, every intuition of Kieran's mind. It became an extension of him, a living weapon powered by human ingenuity. The emotional cost, but the strain was immense. Kieran's body trembled from the energy surging through the ship. His vision blurred and sweat poured down his face inside the helmet. The starship pulsed again, warning him of overdrive. He realized the cost of human and machine together. Too much power could consume him. He closed his eyes for a moment, thinking of the colonies, of families depending on him, of humanity's survival. "I can do this," he whispered. His hands moved with unwavering precision, guiding the ship through the chaos. One by one, the alien ships fell. Explosions lit the darkness, scattering debris across the void. The fleet was in retreat. Kieran felt exhaustion wash over him, but also triumph. He had done the impossible. Humanity's edge, as the alien fleet fled. Kieran floated in the control chamber, watching through the observation window. The colossal starship pulsed with life around him, responding to every heartbeat. He realized the truth. The aliens had underestimated humans, but not anymore. "Creativity, instinct, courage," he said softly. "That's what they don't understand." The ship hummed in agreement. Kieran had taken an abandoned relic, a machine from a forgotten age, and turned it into a weapon of survival. Not because of size, speed, or raw power, but because humans could think differently, act unpredictably, and adapt when all else failed. He floated for a moment, catching his breath. The victory was partial. The alien fleets would return, stronger, more determined. But now he had the advantage. He had a weapon, yes, but more importantly, he had proven that humanity itself was the greatest weapon of all. The stars stretched endlessly, calm and silent. But Kieran knew calm was an illusion. The alien fleets were coming back, larger, stronger, and hungrier. This time, they would not underestimate a human. They would come prepared, ruthless, and determined to finish what they had started. Kieran floated through the colossal control chamber, hands moving over panels like a conductor guiding an orchestra. Every system was alive, humming with potential energy, waiting for his command. The hidden chamber he had discovered earlier pulsed with immense power, a power that could obliterate entire enemy fleets or consume him entirely. He took a deep breath. "This ends now," he whispered. Humanity had survived because humans were clever, adaptable, and unafraid to take risks. And now he would prove that once again. The approach of the enemy, the alien fleet, emerged from the darkness of a distant nebula, sleek warships glinting with energy shields and deadly weapons. Hundreds of vessels, more than Kieran had ever seen at once. The colonies he had sworn to protect were thousands of light years away, their fate hanging in the balance. He studied the fleet carefully. Each ship had patterns, weaknesses, blind spots. Most fleets relied on raw power, coordination, and numbers, but Kieran had something they lacked: unpredictability, creativity, and instinct. "Let's teach them a lesson," he muttered. He activated the starship's gravity engines and stealth generators. The massive vessel seemed to shrink, fading into near invisibility. He guided it along a path through an asteroid field, dodging enemy scans while positioning himself perfectly for a strike. The aliens fired, sensing something strange, but their beams passed harmlessly through space, striking only asteroids. Kieran grinned. Humans had always been survivors, and now they would be the hunters. The first strike, Kieran initiated the first salvo. Energy beams lanced through the void, slicing through alien ships before they could react. The starship moved with fluid grace, twisting and turning in ways the enemy could not anticipate. He fired multiple weapons simultaneously, targeting ships in clusters, using gravity fields to redirect energy back at attackers. Explosions flared across the battlefield, lighting up the darkness. Alien formation shattered under the precision and creativity of a single human guiding a centuries-old warship. "They don't know what hit them," Kieran said quietly, exhilaration rising in his chest. The starship pulsed around him as if alive, almost smiling. Together, they were more than weapon and pilot. They were a single mind, a mind that could think faster, react smarter, and strike unpredictably. But Kieran knew this was only the beginning. The alien fleets were learning, adapting. They would try to anticipate his next move. He had to think bigger, faster, smarter. Unleashing the hidden power, he turned to the hidden chamber, the source of unimaginable energy. He knew the risks. Channeling this power could bind his life to the starship, perhaps permanently. But the stakes were higher than fear. Human colonies depended on him. Humanity depended on him. "We can do this," he whispered to the ship. He began rerouting all available energy to the chamber. Sparks flew. Panels blinked. Systems groaned under the strain. But Kieran's hands were steady, precise, unyielding. He guided energy like a sculptor, shaping it into weapons of unimaginable scale. Outside, the alien fleet closed in. They had realized the human was no ordinary pilot. Their formations tightened, their weapons fired in deadly patterns. But Kieran anticipated everything. He had already prepared decoy drones, gravity traps, and energy reflections. Every attack was countered with ingenuity. Finally, he reached the moment of truth. He activated the main chamber. Energy surged through the starship, brilliant and overwhelming. The colossal vessel pulsed like a living thing, its full potential awakened for the first time in centuries. The galactic assault. Kieran focused, eyes locked on the holographic map. He fired. The hidden chamber unleashed beams of energy that cut across space, striking entire sections of the alien fleet. Ships were obliterated instantly, shields collapsing under the sheer force. He didn't stop. Using gravity manipulation, he hurled asteroids like missiles, crushing enemy ships in unexpected ways. Energy pulses reflected enemy beams back at them. The aliens were caught in a storm of strategy and energy and chaos they could not predict. Every move, every calculation, every instinct was human. The starship obeyed him like an extension of his mind. Every alien ship destroyed reinforced the truth. Intelligence, creativity, and courage were more powerful than brute strength. Colonies that had cowered under alien threat watched from afar as the battle unfolded. They could not comprehend the scale, but they felt hope, the first hope in decades. The cost of power. The hidden chamber's energy surged, almost consuming Kieran. Sweat poured, muscles burned, and his vision blurred. He could feel his life tethered to the ship, every pulse of energy coursing through his body. One wrong move could end everything. Not just him, but humanity's last chance. But he held firm. He thought of the children, the families, the colonies that had no defenders. He thought of every human who had survived against impossible odds. Humans were resilient. Humans were fearless. And he, Kieran, was their instrument. With a final surge, he unleashed a concentrated strike at the remaining flagship. The alien command ship exploded in a brilliant flare, sending shockwaves through the fleet. Confusion reigned. Retreat turned to panic. The alien forces had never faced anything like this. A single human turning a relic warship into a galactic superweapon. Victory and triumph. As the last of the alien ships scattered into the void, Kieran floated in the control chamber, exhausted but alive. The starship pulsed around him as if celebrating. It had survived centuries of abandonment, only to awaken under a human's guidance. Together they had turned the tide of battle. "We did it," Kieran whispered, a mix of relief and pride flooding him. Humans had survived against impossible odds. Creativity, courage, and intelligence had triumphed where brute force alone had failed. For the first time in his life, he felt truly powerful, not because of the ship, but because of what humanity could achieve. One human mind could outthink hundreds of alien vessels. One human could change the course of history. The starship hummed, stabilizing itself, its systems fully awake. Kieran floated to the observation window, staring at the stars. Somewhere out there, human colonies were safe, for now, and the galaxy had witnessed something new. The ingenuity and brilliance of humanity, magnified through the machine that trusted them. A new guardian, Kieran explored the ship's decks once more. Systems he had not yet accessed hummed with potential. Energy cores waited, gravity engines twitched, and weapon arrays shimmered. He realized the ship was not just a weapon, it was a guardian, and he, its human partner, would guide it across the stars. "We have work to do," he said to the ship. It pulsed in response. Together, they could protect humanity, explore uncharted space, and face threats no one else could survive. The human colonies would never know his name, not yet, but they would know the results. A single human, against impossible odds, had changed the course of the galaxy. Kieran smiled. Humanity had survived. Humanity had triumphed. And with this starship, humanity had a new edge. One born of intelligence, courage, and imagination. Final reflection. As he piloted the Colossal Starship through the darkness of space, Kieran thought of the journey he had taken. From a lone mechanic salvaging scraps to the guide of a living warship, he had discovered the truth humans had always known. Survival was never about strength alone. It was about thinking, adapting, and daring to act when others hesitated. Humans had always been underestimated. But Kieran knew something now that aliens would never understand. A single human mind, combined with courage and creativity, could turn the impossible into reality. He looked at the stars stretching endlessly ahead. The galaxy was vast, dangerous, and full of unknown threats. But Kieran felt ready. Humanity had its champion. And the starship, once abandoned and forgotten, would never again be idle. Together, human and machine would face the future, and humanity would triumph. The stars flickered in silence, bearing witness to a truth that would echo through generations. When humans rise, even the impossible becomes possible. And Kieran, the human mechanic, had just proven it.